Welcome back, kids from Mars. Today I'm going to show you how to do some tea party placemats without sewing. These are the items that you're going to need to get started. You need a 12 by 17 inch piece of burlap, 5 feet of trim or ribbon, some glue, some scissors, a 1 inch piece of cardboard tubing like a toilet paper roll or a wrapping paper roll, some buttons, jewels, flowers, anything that you want to embellish your napkin holder with, and a napkin. Okay, let's get started. I've mentioned before how much I like to work with burlap, and this is one of the reasons. It's very easy to work with burlap. It's very forgiving. If you make a mistake, you can always fix it. First thing you want to do is get your 12 inch by 17 inch burlap. Let me show you how you can cut it. It's so simple. You want to measure your 12 inches, and then right where those 12 inches are, just pull that piece of string right out of there. That's going to give you an area to cut for your 12 inches. And then you're going to measure 17 inches this way. And again, once you have your 17 inch spot, you're just going to pull that thread right out of there. I'm going to show you why we're doing it that way. Because that's going to give you a nice area. You can actually see right through there where you're going to cut, where you pulled those strings. So you're going to cut right through and get your 12 by 17 piece of burlap just by cutting along those lines. That makes it so easy to get a nice even piece without having to guess where you're cutting. Now once you've got that cut, I'm going to have about a size about like that. I want you to start pulling the sides, these little pieces out. You're going to fray the edges so that you have about 1 inch of fraying on each side. And remember what I told you before about saving things? These are really great for tying on tags, wrapping small gifts, using to make little ribbons. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to save them right there in my little twine holder because we might want to use those a little bit later. Now once you've actually done your fraying, you're just going to take your glue and your trim, and again I said about 5 feet. This is going to cover one placemat, and if you need it, it can also cover part of your napkin holder. And if you do not have very steady hands or a really good eye for doing things evenly, just use your ruler before you put your trim down, and you can just line that up along the edges where you've done your fraying and just run your glue right around all the edges there. And then you're going to take, this is called bric-a-brac. It's a little bit more expensive than ribbon, so if you're only doing a few placemats, it's not that bad to do. This is probably taking about $2 worth of bric-a-brac to do 2 placemats. Or you can just use plain ribbon. It's a lot more inexpensive if you're doing a large amount of placemats. And you're just going to glue that along all 4 sides there. Now the reason I say to do this ahead of time if you're going to be having a party is because even though the activity itself only takes about 10 minutes, it takes some time for the glue to dry. So if this is part of your activities for your tea party, you're going to want to do that as soon as your guests arrive, so it's going to be ready by the time you actually have your tea party. If this is something you're doing ahead of time for your guests, then of course you can do it anytime at all. It doesn't take very long to do. Now once you've got that all frayed and all glued like this, you can actually set that aside now. You're not going to need that for a while. Just let that dry and set that aside and start working on your napkin holder. This is where you're going to need about a 6 inch piece of your burlap. You can use any contrasting color. I'm using the same color as the burlap we're working with. And I'm just going to use this piece of a 1 inch piece of toilet paper roll that I cut off. So I was able to make about 5 napkin rings out of 1 roll. Just going to give that a light coat of glue, and always get your ends done the best because you don't want to have any unraveling. So you're going to get that on there and wrap that around your tubing. And this is where you can start really getting creative. If you have a color theme or you want to match your napkin that you're going to be using, I'm going to be using this yellow and blue ribbon here because that matches the napkin color I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just give each of these ribbons a real quick coat of glue all the way down. And I mean, you can do anything here. You can not do any ribbons at all. You can use bric-a-brac, you can use raffia, you can do ribbons, any color that you want to. The napkin that we're going to be using, that I'll be showing you in a little time here, happens to match the coral and the yellow and the blue. So I'm just going to wrap those right around there. And now we're going to set that aside to dry as well. Once this is dry, you can do some other things to it, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Before I move on to what else we're going to do with our placemat, let me show you something that's a quick, easy trick to use this another time. Is you just take your dried placemat and you just flip it over, and you can change your colors. So I'll show you a little bit more about that in just a moment. So now we have our dried placemat, and I'm just going to turn this over here for a second and show you what to do with your napkins. Now we've done our napkin, our placemat, and we've made a napkin holder. I'm going to take your napkin there and just place that right inside. So that happens to color coordinate with the napkin that I've chosen. And now look what you have here. You've got a nice little setup. You've got a placemat. You've got a matching napkin holder. And as I mentioned a moment ago, later on, you can just flip that over, glue on another set, a different color of your bric-a-brac or your trim or your ribbon, and match it with a new napkin. It's so easy to do. You can have so many things sitting around like this, and always offer your guests a selection of things to embellish it with. You can take this simple holder, put a button on it here like I did, add a flower to it. It's just a matter of having glue and having a selection of things to put on there. There's so many different ideas that you can come up with to do that. I'm going to show you a couple of more things that we can do here with our placemats. On this one, I used the white bric-a-brac to go around the sides, and then I made a utensil holder. Again, this is super easy. Along with the same color you used, you might want to use a different color. I like to use the same. I just cut a 5" by 6" piece of the burlap and then just trim the edges. You want to make this a little bit larger than your space, and I'll show you why. Because once you put things in the holder, that's going to take it up. You don't want to lay it completely flat. You want to make it come up on the sides. So you want to kind of gather it there. Let me show you what it looks like from this angle. You can see where there is an opening in here, because you want to allow enough space to actually put your utensils and put your napkin. Now this particular one, I embellished with just some simple, colorful buttons. But again, you can take more ribbon, you can take some flowers, you can do all kinds of things with some glue and put it up there. Here is another variety that I did, and how cute is this? I used some black burlap with some pink ribbon, matched it up to the napkin, and added a matching candle. I put a white plate here with some more burlap on top of it, just to make it all match and come together. And on this one, I used a little imitation jewel on top of the napkin ring, just to make that kind of sparkle. If you want to do something really simple, maybe you have a country theme or a burlap and twine theme, I just used a plain piece of beige or khaki colored burlap. This had no gluing at all. I just tied a piece of burlap and some twine. There's that twine that I told you not to throw away. Made a little napkin ring. And watch this. How easy is it to sew with burlap. You just take a large needle, put some ribbon in there, and look at this. I mean, how easy is that to do? And just stitch all along the edge of your burlap. If you want, you can have the kids write their initials using string or yarn or burlap. And look how easy that is. If you make a mistake, look at this. You just pull it out and you just start over again. That's what I mean by burlap being very forgiving. It's so easy to sew through. So I hope you enjoyed this session of Kids with Mars. And there's so many things you can do to make your tea party a success. And burlap comes in so many colors, and it's inexpensive. And I can make 6 to 8 placemats with just 1 yard of burlap. So it cost me about $4 to cut out 6 pieces, along with 6 pieces of napkin holder and 6 small pieces to make my napkin rings, all for $4. So thank you very much for joining me on Kids from Mars, and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.